Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Enlisted 9 Fight Company and Road Armor. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. It is a special episode. You're joining us on is November 6th. Kind of special night. It's back to our old night we used to be on. But we got off of that, so we're back on Tuesday night. It is our midterm election special show, and as you see to my right, your left, my buddy, my brother from another motherland, Mr. Toby Nunn. Hello, Toby. Looking sharp.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and my good friend, brother from another, Troy Stewart. You are joining us on this auspicious occasion.
I like that.
That's
you
right.
Should keep that up.
It's election night, and we're here to talk to you about everything electoral. We might swing in some pectoral conversation later, but it's definitely going to be electoral. So thank you for joining us. I got my new hair, just got it did, if you know what I mean. And we are excited to be back on Tuesday nights now that volleyball is over. Our lives are run by varsity volleyball timelines, and now we're back on this Tuesday, probably just this Tuesday, but we'll see what's going on. But outside of that, my man, life is good. We got a big lineup tonight. We need to get on it. We do.
We do. I do like that voice. I could get used to that every once in a while. I don't know. It was very kind of cheesy.
Illustrious.
It was illustrious. Yeah, so we are so glad that, hey, John, how you doing? So many people coming into the chat room, everything else. People are piling on to the video.
Yeah.
Hey, if your friends are looking how to find us, make sure you let them know. Facebook, Twitch,
yeah, share it.
Periscope.
Throw a share up there.
Share
Maybe
it up
like
there.
The page. It's
YouTube.
crazy. You can do it.
You can like the page, yeah. We get more people that watch the show than like the page. Doesn't make a bit of sense. But also, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So there's no reason. We're on all the outlets. We're coming across everything. There's no reason not to listen to the show. Let your friends know. They could be anti-Facebook. They've got enough other options to go to. But like the page. Like the page on like the channel on YouTube. You can like that too. No shout, no there. And best yet, just tell people. That's our best compliment I think we can get, Toby, is just people just telling other people and bringing people to the show.
Holler if you hear him.
Yeah, that's it. You can see we have a special election night background. Got our I voted sticker there right between us. Yeah, they don't give those in New York, so I didn't get one of those. I've never seen one, but apparently a lot of states they do because people were putting them up on Facebook all day long. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for joining us. For those that liked us on Tuesday, we're back for tonight. We have a couple-hour show. This is going to be a long one, so strap in and hope you're right along with us. We are watching. We have Twitter going, multiple Twitter feeds happening. Satellites are spinning in the sky. Toby's got screens up. I got screens up. We're watching polls closing, percentages coming in, people calling elections, and we're going to be doing all that tonight, along with having some great guests on the show tonight. 3 guests so far planned. Who knows who else could show up? But we definitely have 3 guests coming in. As we put up there. Toby, why don't you talk a little bit about a couple of our guests and let folks know who we got coming on tonight.
Opening up, we have the founder of Mighty Oaks Programs, the famous Chad Wishaw. Chad is a multi-tour leader with SOCOM, a Force Recon Marine, former
New Orleans police officer and federal air mixed martial arts champion, jiu-jitsu black belt, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt from the Gracie lineage. And he will be coming on to talk about hopes and prayers for the country. And I want to open with that tonight before we get into other stuff, because I think it's important that we talk about hopes and prayers for the country before we talk about results, because I think it's important that we cover the value of you know of what we have versus getting into winner chicken dinner.
Mm.
We also have from the Greg Abbott gubernatorial campaign staff, Joseph Esparza, combat Marine machine gunner. That's right. Spent some time laying it down with Weapons Company. Fourth out of the, I'm probably saying it all wrong because I'm an Army guy. But awesome dude, graduate of the University of Texas Tech, Reckham, and now works for the governor of the greatest republic in the country, and he will be joining us as undoubtedly they will be celebrating probably in the background of his call. And then we also got crowd pleaser, crowd favorite, everybody's creepy but well-dressed uncle, Jimbo Hansen.
That's right.
And he's up in D.C. in the thick of it, in the belly of the beast, and he will be sharing thoughts and views and opinions when he's joining us in between his probably multiple Fox News spots tonight.
Yeah, between Fox News and Fox Business News. We tell you, we got a couple results coming in now. They are calling Pennsylvania. Bob Casey, Democrat Bob Casey, is going to win a third term. Democratic billionaire J.B. Pritzker is expected to win the Illinois governor's race. And our favorite, Pocahontas herself, Elizabeth Warren, looks like she's going to pick up a second term in Massachusetts. So, no surprises. No surprises there. So, all pretty.
I bet you Bernie Sanders is probably going to win too.
Yeah, they called that one about a minute after it closed. Literally, they called that like the polls in Vermont closed. Bernie Sanders won. It's like, wow, can they drive the ballots over first and count them? It's like,
he probably won. He probably won before anyone cast a ballot.
Yeah. So we got a couple things. So you remember, make sure you can chat on the Facebook chat room. You can text in 512-361-1178. Come with some comments, questions for our guest, or like I said, you can also put them in the Facebook chat if you're there. We're watching all the chat rooms, so we are watching everything that we have. We're iTunes. I'm sorry, not iTunes. We're watching Twitch. We're watching YouTube, watching Periscope, and of course Facebook. So if you comment anywhere, we're going to see them all. And so a lot of things to cover. Like you say, we got some great guests coming up, and we got a couple things though, Toby, we want to hit on before we get into our guests. There's a couple of, like everything on our show every week, we don't have to wait long. There's always common topics coming out, and we want to chat a little bit about that. Before I chat on that, I want to make sure I recognize our sponsor, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, and the great shirts
Guardians.
They put out. I am wearing. I thought this was appropriate for today. Guardians of the Constitution, too. I thought that was a good Election Day shirt. And, oh, wait. Hold on, Toby. I got the wrong hat on. What am I thinking? Oh, I'm taking this one off. Look at that bald head.
Look at that hair. Look at that hair.
There we go. Now it feels right. Okay. He's not running, but they said this whole election's about him, so I had to put on my Make America Great Again hat. There we go. Wore that to the election booth today, actually. And, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and I want to highlight my "Come and Take It" flag back behind me. I usually have the American flag back there, but we had some big windstorms here, and I saw my American flag getting a little tattered, Toby, a little shredded at the end. I'm like, it's time to come down. Got to get it ready to give it to the Boy Scouts to take care of it properly.
To properly retire it.
That's right. So I grabbed the one off the back. I was like, I need a flag. I have a flag handy, and I was like, I got that brand new one. It's been hanging behind, in my office. I went, grabbed it, threw it up there. So I thought, no, I'll put up the "Come and Take It" AR flag, which I thought was also kind of appropriate for this election night coverage. So got those going on. But Toby, what's going on that we want to hit on before we bring Chad on?
So, two things that I want to touch on, but I'm going to touch on one later, and that's the all the celebrity promises, because there's been some good ones, and also celebrity endorsements.
Hmm.
And then I want to talk about some failed celebrity activity. I'll open up with the debauchery that was known as Saturday Night Live. I got to tell you, when I was a kid, and up until probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was a big SNL fan. Watched it religiously. Uh, the wife and I would watch it. Record it. Um, catch past episodes.
That was the
When it
thing to
was,
watch. That was like
it
the
was,
you
it
waited for
really
Saturday
was.
night to see what would Eddie Murphy do, or going way back, John Belushi would do,
Yeah,
and Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, and there was classic comedy.
yeah, and even with Dana Carvey and Mike
Right.
Myers, and like bringing it to like Phil Hartman, and some of those guys
Norm
like Jan
Macdonald.
Hooks.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald. I
No,
mean,
there
just
there was some super talented and funny comedians on there.
generations
Also,
of generations. I mean, there were the good ones replaced other good
yeah,
ones. You're not never
yeah,
getting
no,
better,
like
Yeah.
some really good talent, but it just seems like in the past 5 or 6 years, it's gone downhill. Uh, the value of the writing uh, has gone down. I'd say probably since Tina Fey left, Amy Poehler. I think they had pretty good writing. I think they were very comedic. Their timing was fantastic. You had, recently girls as, like Maya Rudolph, that were really good and could deliver it. When you think of like the Will Ferrells and, and Jason Sudeikis's and stuff like that, there were some talented folks there. But lately, in the past 4, 5, 6 years, they haven't had those good characters. They haven't had those good comedians, and the writing has just been pretty piss poor. And I mean, I even liked it when Al Franken was on there. I'm not an Al Franken fan, but like, it was good comedic writing. It was good, like skits. I mean, it was solid. Like I wasn't a Chris Kattan fan, because like that dude was just strange and weird, and just creepy, and people have nightmares about him. But they did this thing, on Weekend Update, where the dude wanted to give his thoughts and reflections on like the midterm elections. So one, like I was impressed that he was old enough to actually like participate in the election, and two, like he purely went after people based on looks, and like awesome, cool. If that's what you think is funny, I mean, obviously, like he has a lot of self-esteem issues. He's got a lot of internal like self-consciousness issues. Hence, like his crazy hair and wardrobe and stuff. And he just got dropped and dumped by the Ariana Grande girl, and he was like, at the end of his little thing there, he's like throws this like, very desperate, pathetic, like she's a really wonderful human being and I love her. Like there's no hard feelings since y'all asked about the breakup. It's like, dude, like the only thing that made you relevant in your life that you had a hot chick for like a hot minute, and obviously like you weren't good enough of a human being to keep even her, who's like not the greatest human being. Um, so like I was a little disappointed that here in Texas we're really proud of uh, a lot of our folks, and Dan Crenshaw is one of those guys, and like Navy SEAL lost his eye in combat. If you've ever read or have heard the story of how it happened, pretty savage exchange. Um, wasn't kind of weak sauce. It went down in like act of valor type movie scene. Like it was pretty pretty hardcore. And if you were an army guy, you'd say "hoo," and like to kind of like take cheap shots at stuff like that. Like, dude, I get it. You're like trying to like be funny, and you're trying to like make your political statement and stand, but you just showed how little understanding you have for the entire process. And like I think the value of Saturday Night Live just plummeted. And I think, like when you compare it to some other things, you would think people would learn. You'd think they'd learn the lesson that, hey, if I kneel for the flag, 23% of our viewership is going to go down. We're probably going to lose Thursday night football, and I'll never work in the sport again. Like, haven't we learned like this lesson?
Right.
But no, like, no, let's go poke the bear. Let's try and be funny. Let's try and make our statement, and let's try and make ourselves relevant in a desperate plea to get our girl that licked donuts and said she hates Americans and America back. Like, it's really interesting. It's
Ooh.
really interesting, but it's also disappointing. And I got to tell you, his response was amazing. He's like, on Twitter, he said, I try hard not to be offensive, and I try even harder not to be offended. And, it's like he handled it with class. But he's also like, yeah, I gave my eye to this country in combat, and like, you're giggling in like a prison jumpsuit with silver hair with weird tattoos that don't make sense, because you're so gangster as a comedian, like the he handled it with class, and I'm really proud of the community. Of course, there's some crazy outrage about it, but bottom line is like, the dude wanted to provide political commentary. Lorne Michaels blessed off on it. It wasn't ad lib.
Right.
It was scripted, and it just shows like, and it just shows that there's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of appreciation, and that all falls down. Like, people don't appreciate America. People think America's a joke. People think it's not the greatest country in the world because they don't go anywhere else. We have created such an echo chamber that people don't even understand or comprehend what they're part of. Because I guarantee if that dude went to Mexico, and I'm not even talking Cancun. I'm like, just go any place in Mexico outside of a border town, because that dude get hung up by a cartel quicker and shit. Like, because they would see his tattoos and think that he was pretending to be something that he isn't. And like, if he went anywhere, he went to Canada. Like, one of the greatest countries on the planet, he would realize like, oh, America's pretty badass. But that
Well,
just shows.
we know that from our travels, and of course, just whether you're going to third world countries or first world countries that just aren't this country, or something like us. I mean, you're gonna see things are just done completely different, and you're just. I mean, my kids have seen it. All of them have traveled internationally. Anyone that's been deployed as a military member, where you've gotten out and about and away from the touristy stuff, have seen it. That wow, we are pretty spoiled, and
Yeah.
we have a lot. That's what makes me sick about the voting. Right, everyone's talking about the voting percentage on this, about how much is turning out for this midterm. Toby, I took my son with me today. He's 16, about to be 17. The next election he'll be old enough to vote, and he's off today because I don't know if it's because our governor allows pedophiles to now vote, and so they had to close down all the schools and send the kids home. But I took him with me, went down there, and I said, hey, come on with me. I said, the next time it's going to be you. You can see how the process works. Right. And, we went down there, we did our selfie afterwards, but went in there, grabbed the ballot, signed off and sat down and did my voting, put it in the machine. I said, there you go. That's kind of how it works. I thought, why not show him now versus in 2 years, whether he's here or somewhere else? At least he kind of has the concept of what it's about and what it is and that kind of stuff. So, I'm like, hey, this should be, I said, we started talking about Australia, But we've been there, and he did a report on it. How in Australia it's the law. It's one of a few countries. There's like 16 or so in the world. You have to vote, and Australia is one of those. You get a ticket the first time, you get double the ticket the second time, and the third time they can arrest you and take you to jail. You are required to vote in that country as a citizen. And so we just talked about that on the way home, talking about the difference between that versus, do you want everyone to vote though? Maybe some you don't, versus everyone doing their duty. But we talked about people, what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. Securing the ability for people who have never had that privilege to vote, and what an awesome opportunity that is. And people just take it for granted in this country. It's one of the biggest waste of citizenship I think people in this country express.
Again, I think it's a direct reflection on people don't understand how awesome America is. Like, I was talking to someone the other day about jury duty, and they were bitching like they had to go do jury duty, and it's like, if anything ever happens and you get arrested or something goes bad, like, you have the opportunity to have a jury by trial. And I know that because it's in the Bill of Rights. Like, it's absolutely protected, constitutional, will never change. You have that guarantee,
right,
that you will get that, which means that there needs to be people to serve on it. And it needs to be like members of your peers ish. And, it's like, and you're like, oh, and on top of it, you're like going to get paid.
right.
Like, you're going to be compensated for your time while you're not at the job, and you're not going to get in trouble for not being at work if, you're like performing the civic duty. And like, people are just, they don't realize like how blessed they are to do it.
Right. Well, hey, speaking of that, Toby, I want to just highlight while you were talking there, we've got our first guest in, and I want to welcome onto the show, back on the show, Mr. Chad Robershaw. Hey, Chad, how you doing, buddy?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good to have you on, and thank you for taking a few minutes tonight on this evening to chat with us. And we want to have an interesting conversation, probably a little bit different with you than some of our other guests coming on later. But we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about and get your perspective, not only on what's going on, anything you want to talk about tonight with the election, but really kind of what's going on in our country, and maybe what this whole election is doing to our country, and some of the things we were just talking about, taking things for granted, and just get your perspective on that.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that people take for granted is voting. I think voting's important. You guys know as well as I do, when you go around different parts of the world and get to see people of different cultures, it really impacts your understanding of how important voting is and the right to vote. I posted about coming on this show today and tried to remind everyone that we've had 1.3 million warriors since the founding of our nation have died on the battlefield for our freedoms, and one of the most important freedoms is the right to be able to elect our government that really controls the future of our nation, our children's children. So important, such an important thing that people sometimes say, well, I'm too busy, I don't have time, or don't take it serious enough to go out and vote. And they're the same ones that are shaking their fist at whatever situation they're upset about.
Right. So, Chad, one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on today, and reached out to you, is because personally, like, you and I have like this really wonderful relationship where you've always been able to speak into my life and vice versa, and really kind of put like a kind of level the spiritual wings, if you will. And we wanted to talk to you because it's like wings aren't level in the country right now, and it's it is tough. Like, they're filled with anger. We were talking earlier, everyone's like, all I want you to do is like go vote. But what they're saying is like, they don't want them to go participate in the process. They want them to go vote for their person. I've only seen like a few people that, genuinely be like, hey, I don't really care who you vote for. You don't misuse this opportunity. Don't misuse this public trust to be part of the social contract. Like go exercise your right to do it, and I'm going to love you for doing it regardless of who you mark, you cast, you punch, you push, your ballot for. And
Right.
we wanted to have you on because, like, first and foremost, like, you've served this country in a way that most people never understand, but maybe they'll get a glimpse at that in the near future, hopefully. What? And two, you you deeply care for the country, but you believe in the people more than the geographical borders of it. And we wanted to hear what some of your hopes and prayers for the country are, versus, like, candidate talk.
I do, and I mean, obviously, I do care deeply for this country, and I believe in this country, and I believe in. I'm very fortunate to get to travel around for Mighty Oaks Foundation and meet people from all different geographical areas of the country, and despite what I see on CNN and Fox and all the division, I can tell you that America is just still an amazing nation of patriots, and I'm not just saying that. I get to see it, and America still has just incredible people that love their nation and just want what's best for the future of this nation. I will say one of the most divisive topics that I see in this country right now is the current administration, the president. And I personally, and as you know, I'm a big supporter of the president. I love President Trump, but I'm not the Trump train guy. And the reason I say that is because I support when I voted for Donald Trump as president. I voted not for a man or to jump on the Trump train. As a American, as a patriot, as someone who has deep principled values as a Christian, I looked at the topics and issues that mattered to me and my family and what I believed for this country, and I voted based on that, not off of an individual. I voted off of those topics and that I believed in. One was I'm very big on pro-life. I'm very big on supporting our military to make sure we have a very strong national defense. And those are types of issues that I looked at, and it just so happened to be that Donald Trump was the candidate that most fit my beliefs. And I think sometimes in this nation right now, where people get hung up on is they get so divisive on parties and individuals that they lose sight of what's important to them and the values that are important to them. And to dig down and do a little bit of homework, not watch the news, but do a little bit of homework and find out which your candidates most supports the values that are important to you. And voting is an important thing, and it's a thing we're all pushing right now. And I think people need to take time, especially right now in this time in our country, take time and find candidates that truly support the things that are important to them. And that's what landed me to vote for our current president. And as you know, I got to personally ask him questions related to something that's most important to me, and that's veterans care. And I tell you, I've got a lot of support for my interaction with him, and I also got a lot of backlash for that. But he not only,
yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got called all kind of things, but and I got to go on Bill O'Reilly, and it wasn't like being on a Stu and Nunn show, but I got to go on Bill O'Reilly and talk about that.
That's
and,
right. We're better. Recognize.
Well, I mean, the thing was though, and I just got tagged in a post recently related to my interaction with President Trump on that question, and he answered my question. But not only that, he came through on that answer, and the VA is veterans' choice, the veterans' choice, the accountability for veteran employees that they can actually fire people at the VA now. There's been a lot of great changes, and I can tell you, I have never seen in my time in the military motivated military than I see right now. I'd say the last time I've seen that was probably between, and I'll sound political when I say this, and I probably am a little bit, between 2001 and 2007, the military was really motivated, and it feels like that again right now.
Amen.
Yeah, do you think it's funny you mentioned about the military being motivated because they've been still continuing to be stretched thin. They're deploying all over. It doesn't seem to be that's what's affecting. What do you think the motivation is coming from? Is it coming from they think an administration that supports their mission, supports them, or is letting their leaders lead them and not try to run it from the civilian side of the house, but let a Secretary of Defense kind of run the military?
Yeah, I think so. I think the military. I think they feel like they're supported. It's trickle down leadership. I mean, the leaders feel supported, and because leaders feel supported, they're able to lead in the way they feel they should lead, and it makes its way all the way down, to the very bottom, very bottom ranks, and that just creates a good atmosphere. And military guys don't need to be happy, but they need to be motivated, and they need to feel like they're supported to do their job.
Yeah, because that's one thing. President Obama seemed, he didn't fire a lot of people from his administration. Definitely not like the current, President Trump has done. But he did seem to fire a lot of generals. It seemed like
a lot of generals.
Yeah.
History makes numbers.
A lot of great generals were forced to resign, and that force, anytime you start doing that, that forces a lot of people to be. I mean, people are just people, and you could call them cowards or whatever, but when somebody's looking at their career being on the line, they're going to be a little more hesitant to what lines they're going to push. And so guys, some of the higher leadership just kind of backed down and tried to survive for themselves and for their own careers and families. And again, you could say that's cowardly of certain generals and stuff to do that, but they wanted to stay in the game as little as they could, so they just didn't push as many lines as they should have. And it ultimately impacted the culture of the military. And you've seen that come back to life now. And then in the veterans community in the VA, man, Toby knows, like, just 2-3 years ago, and now all the way back to 8 years ago when we started Mighty Oaks, everybody was just talking so much smack on the VA, and me included. And now, now I'm like,
I was holding a megaphone for you.
I mean, they still have a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong, a lot. But sometimes I say things, I'm like, bite my tongue. I'm like, well, I shouldn't say that because they actually are making some pretty good steps. And one of those steps goes back to the question I got to ask the president was, will you look at alternative solutions outside of clinical programs? And they are. Jeremy Stolnicker just did an amazing video on how the VA is looking outside of the VA to find great alternative programs to help their veterans that are coming to them outside of the clinical system. That's amazing. Like, that wasn't even in 2008, 2016. Do the math of who was there. But and I'll just say President Obama shut down the Office of Faith-Based and Community Alternative Programs, defunded it, and everything went to clinical programs at that time. And clinical solutions are sometimes the right answer, but they're not the only solution to people's problems. And it really hurt, I think, the veteran community.
You're absolutely right, and that's the sad part, that this opportunity was lost to do in the past, the opportunity to do good, for the deserving people that serve this nation was lost, purely by political and bureaucratic means. And since the last election, there's been a dramatic change. Positive things. People are able to do their jobs, and if they're not doing their jobs, now there's this accountability. I mean, we've seen that in academia, right? We see that with tenure. You see where people can do and say crazy shit, and there be no repercussions. So it's wonderful to see, like, accountability's coming back, and the standard's the standard, and it's not about values, and I think a lot of people misunderstand this, and you know what I'm saying when I say this. It's not about a lack of values or the values that a person has. It's about flexible values, and like, it's nice to have values that are no longer flexible, and that's just a big thing. You said something that was absolutely brilliant earlier on. And you said, like, soldiers and military members don't need to be happy. They need to be motivated. And the truer words are not spoken, and it's just wonderful. But, hey, Chad, appreciate you being able to take the time. I know we only have you for a short period of time. Troy, you got anything left for him?
No. I just, if anything else, Chad, just a reflection on what do you think tomorrow will bring for this country, regardless of what happens. Do you think the American people will finally, if they're not being stoked by the mainstream media or their social media or anything like that, do you think people start to calm down and maybe have some unity, regardless of which way it goes, or do you think the next crisis of the day, the next controversy of the day, is going to just keep egging us on and separating us as a country?
Man, the optimist in me wishes I could say that tomorrow, the dust could be settled and this could be all over. But I mean, it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. There is a malicious agenda for power, and there's a group of people that have invaded the Democratic Party, and they probably have been there for a very long time, and they will at all costs try to achieve power, and and everyone else, it could be a collateral damage to it, and that's not going to end because of today's election. It's not going to stop until they're either all gone or they regain power, and that's why it's just so important, as an American, to participate in the election process like this, and not to sit back on the sidelines and just complain, but actually take active role. And this is it's a privilege that we have as Americans, and it's something we should take seriously, because we could see it impacts our everyday life right now. Each and every American, it impacts our life. So.
Right. All right. Well, hey, Chad, thank you so much for coming on and calling in for a little bit. We appreciate you coming on, being our first guest of the night, and giving us some of your perspective and insight and wisdom. I know our listeners and viewers really appreciate it too.
No, hey, thank you guys for what you do, and thanks for bringing the topic up tonight.
Hey, Chad, love you, bro, and thank you for taking the time. For everyone that's listening and tuning in, Chad Robichaux, American hero, did everything from not graduate high school to now having a PhD. Served this country both militarily through law enforcement and at the highest levels of SOCOM, and now gave up everything from being a mixed martial arts champion, a world champion, to just trying to heal the brokenhearted. And you are my hero. You are my friend. You are my brother. And we are honored that you took the time to spend even just a few moments with us tonight.
Hey, love you guys, man. And miss you, Toby, and glad to see your hair's back.
Yes. Yeah, that's my dog right there.
That's it.
God bless, guys.
All right, Chad. Take it easy. Have a good night. All right, there we go. Well, there we go. Our first guest of the night, Toby, Mr. Chad Robichaux, a testament to himself. I mean, the guy's got us. We've had him, as our listeners know, we've had him on the show, and he's just an awesome dude. Yes, the hair.
Talking about the glorious locks.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've been hanging out with Shard too much. Hey, while we had Chad on, some hot news coming in. Florida's 27th district, for the first time in 3 decades, has flipped blue. It is went to the Democrats for the first time in 30 years. Florida's 27th district. So a lot of things happening. A lot of results coming in so far are right along what people predicted or what were expected. I mean, they're Democrats being reelected or so on and so forth. So far, Democrats are +2 in the House, and they are still not plus any in the Senate on results that have come in. So. It's interesting to watch. It's coming in real time, and we never had this growing up, or even not even growing up, even 20 years ago. We've got meters. They're dynamic. You're watching the web. Their percentages are moving back and forth, just like the 2016 election. Things were just they're just tracking this stuff in the age of information as fast as these bits and bytes can flow. We are in real time reading these percentages. But yeah, so Chad hit on a good thing, Toby. I mean, it's really about our country. And, we had some comments in the chat room, there's one about, who was it that made that statement? I think it was Justin Cable. Yeah, it was Justin, right? Left or right wing, we're all part of the same bird, right? I just hope I'm not at the rear end of it. But we're going at that. Remember this back in the 2016 election when people were like hoping the president failed and all that stuff, and we were like, why would you hope? Wouldn't you want the guy being president to succeed? And And that was not in the 16, right after the 16 election, I guess, right? Because they didn't think he was going to win. So right after, everyone was like hoping that the president would fail and do bad, so they could go, ha ha, told you so. And we were using analogies like that'd be like being on a plane, and your pilot was an a-hole, and you wished he would fail, right? You wouldn't want to do that. And we're all part of this, and I think we've all benefited from the last 2 years. I mean, many people, their paychecks went up. We now have more jobs available than we have unemployed, and a lot of people have gotten really good on the taxes. Are really going to help out. The 401ks, just look at that. It's like a 501k. I mean, so a lot of people have done well. It doesn't mean they love the president or love his administration or really like what he says some of the times or tweets. But I think it's safe to say that everyone has benefited some. So, yeah, I'm with Chad on that. I would hope, but hope is not a method, as we'd say in the Army all the time. I would
hope is not a plan.
No, I would hope that
hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, I just want to predict a little bit something here. I do predictions every once in a while, Toby. Sometimes they come true pretty accurately. Sometimes they don't. We just forget about them. But I had a good run recently, so if the and this isn't like Nostradamus shit. This is I would say this is common sense and common knowledge. If the Democrats take control tonight of the House and the Senate, if that were even possible, then who starts to file the impeachment things tomorrow, and who opens up every investigation into everything starting tomorrow and do all that, and obviously nothing's going to get done in this government for the next 2 years. And if the Democrats can take control of the House and Senate, I guess it's looking pretty good. They may win the House. But if they don't, let's say the president does something that's almost unheard of, and that is midterm elections staying with the ruling party and not going against them, because it's almost always flips. Let's say he does, the Republicans do keep control of the House and Senate. Then I will just sit here and wait for the next controversy or thing to pop up. I don't know if we're going back to Russia again, or collusion, because I haven't heard about that in a long time. And they just found out that every accuser against Kavanaugh had no reputable evidence. And a 414-page report just came out, which wasn't really covered a lot, that pretty much said all of them were full of crap. So I wonder what will happen if he does, if the Republicans do retain control. What's the next attack? I mean, it seems like they've thrown everything they can at it, but it'll one of the two is going to happen, I guess. I don't know.
Well, hopefully, and I guess I've read too much Michael J. Fox in my life, because I am an eternal optimist. Hopefully, people aren't voting to try and inflict action on somebody else. Hopefully, they're voting to inflict or ignite or initiate action in a process. And if, like, you're voting, and I'm talking to anybody out there, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're voting with the purpose and design behind you to, initiate some form of adverse action, like we were talking earlier about cheering for the pilot to crash. If like you're voting with the purpose of being able to grab the wheel and like crash the plane yourself, like what a waste.
Yeah.
Like what regardless of what side you're on. And I would hope, that people would look at the issues, that are at hand. Chad spoke brilliantly of like, hey, he's not a Trump train guy. He didn't get on the Trump train. He voted, based on what was meaningful to him and what was going to impact his family and what he felt was the best outcome of the election would be for his family. And like, you gotta hope that the majority of people are voting with that mentality. You gotta hope that most people have taken the time and said, okay, like, I'm here in Texas, and one of the reasons why I'm excited for this election to be over is because I'm tired of seeing Beto O'Rourke signs. And the reason I'm tired of seeing him is because, he copied the Whataburger logo. And every time I see a Beto O'Rourke sign, I start getting hungry. And, Lord knows, like I can't put on any more weight. I spent too much time at the gym already trying to cut it back. I don't need to be like trying to gain, like some more Whataburger in my life, even though Whataburger's what's up. No, it's hopefully people voting for what's meaningful to them. And there's some important things at task. Like, someone was trying to lecture me on immigration the other day because apparently, like, I look like white privilege and, born and raised in America. So, like, I wouldn't know anything about immigration. And I think they were pleasantly surprised at my one knowledge base on the immigration process, and then two, my familiarity with it. Uh, and when I pulled my green card out of my pocket, what's up? Like,
Was that a check of your privilege?
Yeah, no, I was like, but like vote, what's meaningful, and I've seen some like wonderful things. I want to talk about people using their platform to talk about positive things. We saw Tim Kennedy, a former guest of the show, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook today, like encouraging people to vote. Like he explained why, he thought it was important and what he felt the issues were important. But most importantly, he was like, here's your opportunity. If you don't like the way something is and you have something to offer, like, go do it. But one of the things that kind of saddens me about this election is they're just saying ridiculous stuff. Like the campaigns have been just filled with hate. The campaigns have been filled with like embarrassingly immature behavior, and it's just kind of like we're decorum is gone, like
right.
couth is gone, like
civility is gone.
We got a bunch of 12-year-olds like running for class president that are promising pizza for everyone and no homework. It's like, we're gonna open the borders, we're gonna do like. That's cool if you want to like refine and adjust the immigration process, but like, do you have a plan? You want to abolish certain things, like, cool, like, I appreciate it. I think last poll I saw, it's something like 70% of the country, or based on that sampling, are for the legalization of marijuana. Like, okay, cool, like, the people want it, make it happen. Like, listen to the people. But like, that doesn't mean we need to like legalize cocaine. We don't need to legalize fentanyl,
right?
Or make it recreational, because that's working wonders for us right now. Be smart about it, think about it, and again, Justin Capel, this was a while back, so I'll have to scroll up to see if I can find it. Justin Capel said something. He asked a question in the chat room, and Facebook chat room, and he's asking, if people voted straight ticket. And, where I'm at in Texas, like, I actually hope people didn't. I'm probably going to get a bunch of, like, angry text messages and hate mail. Like, I hope people didn't vote straight ticket. Because if you voted straight ticket, then you couldn't speak on some of the important local issues, that affect your thing. Like, there's propositions and there's ordinances that are being voted on local levels that if you vote straight ticket on, like, you get excluded from voicing your opinion in that. And this is your opportunity to speak immediately into your community. You and I both agree, no matter what side of the fence we're on, that your first ministry, the most important, thing that you can lead is your home. And, if you can't vote immediately on something that's going to affect your home directly, or you shortchange yourself to that opportunity, like, that's too bad. Like, I hope, you took the time to learn about the ballot, learn about, the process. And if you voted straight ticket, like how you might lose the opportunity to actually speak into like something that could affect your kid's school district, like the school bonds,
right,
and stuff like that. So, like, here in Tejas, like, I hope you voted for, what affected your house the most, and not what was to piss off your neighbor. because I've heard so many discussions. I've seen more signs this year than I feel like I've seen in a lot of other years, and you see these like signs like I got 3 signs for Beto in my yard. Well, I got to put up this many signs for the other guy in my yard, or stuff like that's like it's not a war. It's not the Griswolds lighting Christmas lights.
Right.
Like go do your talking at the ballot box, bro.
Beto got a lot of support. I just saw Beyonce tweeted in support of him hours before the polls closed. I didn't. Man, people really care about Texas.
He's gonna win. Beto's gonna win as a result of the influence of everyone outside of Texas. He does have popularity and some fans here in Texas, but he is going to win because of the millions of dollars that were put in from everybody outside. And this is what I find so ironic. As people talk and complain about the meddling of, external forces in, elections, but it's okay when they do it for themselves. And, I'm not saying this is a sore loser. I'm not saying this. We don't even know. But Beto O'Rourke has made himself famous in Texas. I think he's got a good chance at winning, and I also think that dude, if he loses, is going to be crazy famous. And they're selling and handing out candles of him at places. He was like the Virgin Mary, as if he was the Virgin Mary, and all these people, Beyonce, Ellen, all these, celebrities that people love and respect, and, they, take their cues and their signaling from versus, utilizing their own thought processes. Because I think a lot of the people, I've seen a lot of friends and family members, and especially here, they got their Beto thing on their Facebook, profile picture. And it's like, you got kids, so you're totally cool with them doing coke. Got it. Cool. He wants to put more money into schools. So does the other guy.
Right.
People are voting, on crazy sound bites versus actually looking at the issues. And so it's really interesting. Like I said, I'm excited for the election to be over so they take down all the signs so I can stop thinking about Whataburger every 5 minutes.
Well, my youngest, he was saying he couldn't wait till tomorrow. So, funny, he said one thing, he's sick and tired of hearing Cuomo's voice on the TV, which I thought was hilarious. He goes, I just can't stand his voice, Dad. I'm like, yeah, most of us can't. But really just get rid of the commercials. Get rid of the robocalls. And, man, I'm just ready for my mail to go back to normal, capacity. And, I get these flyers in there that are 11 by 14 and glossies. It doesn't make a difference. They go right to the shredder. But, yeah, it's tomorrow the commercials will stop and the calls will stop and all that other good stuff. But, something happened to me today, Toby, before we get into our next guest. I just want to talk about, and I don't know if it was really a thing or related. So as I was mentioning earlier, before we brought Chad on, I went to the election booth right around the corner from my house. So we walk over there. We like to do that. And, I was standing there and I had my hat on. I had my Guardians Constitution shirt on. I had my hat on. It was the most filled I've ever seen my polling place be. It is normally it's maybe 1 or 2 other people in there, and I actually had to wait in line for a while. This was the first time I've ever seen that, including even the 2016 election. And it could have been just the time of the day, but I went around noon time. And so there's 2 ladies, and one of them, she looks at the book and finds your name, and then she gives it, writes the number down on the ballot, and the other lady rips out the ballot sheet and hands it to you and stuff. And so the one lady got, give her your name and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, in New York, you don't have to show an ID, which I hate. I always try to show my ID anyways, but they always we don't need that. And I'm like, I want you to look at it. And, because you can just walk up and vote. You don't have to show an ID.
Which is crazy that the most crucial thing you can do as a citizen doesn't require identification.
No.
Driving a car does. Buying cigarettes, tobacco, kind of does.
Alcohol.
Voting. Oh, dude, getting on a plane.
Getting on a plane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Voting, the direction does not require an ID, and I hate it. My sons who no longer live here are still registered to vote. They're still on the thing because you know what, in New York too, if you don't go take yourself off, they don't remove you. If you die, no one removes you. So I could have turned around, walked back in, and said my name. I was the name of my son, who's right next to my name, and said, "Oh, that's me." They can't stop me. They can't look at my. They can't question me or nothing. I could have said I'm him and voted again. And my other son, I could have said I'm him and I'm voted for him. Now my wife had already done absentee ballot because she's not here, but I could just keep walking in. Pretty much all you need is a name and know what if you know someone's address, so you can figure out what district voting district they're in. But you just need their name and just walk in and say you're them. So what happens if I were to win in saying someone would win and voted as me? And they'd walk in, I'd be like, no. They're like, well, you already signed. That's not my signature. I haven't voted yet. Guess what? Nothing. What can they do? There's nothing they can do. I could say this is my ID. They don't know. Someone already voted. That's all that matters. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. But yes, that's what happens here in the Socialist Republic of New York. So, but I'm standing there in front of this lady, and she's at a table, and I'm standing there. So she's like her head, she's like midsection. She won't look at me. I'm standing there in my red hat, got my Guardians Constitution shirt on, and she's just staring straight ahead. And she was kind of an older lady, so I thought maybe she was having a moment. I don't know, maybe she was kind of just daydreaming, or even there was a line of people behind me and a line of people in the one next because there was 2 districts being voted out of this one area. She stared straight ahead, would not even. I was like looking at her and I looked at the other lady that tears the ballot out. I'm like, who do I see here? And then she tapped her on the arm, and then the lady looked up at me, and then was like, oh, and then turned the thing around. I didn't think much about it then, but as I started hearing reports today of other voting areas other voting going on and some irregularities going on in this area, I started hearing some things. I started thinking, I wonder if that lady was purposely just like, I don't know if she thought I was going to walk or that was her way to get back at me because I was wearing this hat or what. But I mean, there was a line of people behind me. She stared straight ahead. She would not look me in the eye, and she wouldn't do anything until that lady tapped her. I don't know if it was something. It could have been. I didn't think about it at the time. I had my son with me. I was trying to show him the process, the civic duty, and it wasn't until later when I started reflecting and thinking that might have been it. She may have been trying to get back at me for my free will to express my opinion and make my own choices. But who knows? I guess we'll never know. So either way, with that, I'm going to drink another nice sip. By the way, we didn't talk about Toby what we're drinking, Toby. I am drinking some Crown Royal Cask number 16. You cannot even buy this anymore. It is Crown Royal finished in cognac barrels. That's what I'm sipping on tonight. What are you sipping on tonight, Toby?
America.
Oh. So I'm drinking for you, Crown Royal, and you're drinking.
and I'm drinking for you, America.
I can't get that up here yet. I haven't found it. It is next time I come down to Tejas, I think I will need to secure a bottle and bring it back with me. We don't have that up here, but we are.
No, a couple weeks ago I was at Vet Expo. Our good friend Daniel Eric was there, who was the social media wizard that taught you and I about OBS and
how to do all this crazy stuff. We got
making all this stuff happen. Like what you see on your screen right now is a direct reflection of him helping us out. So shout out to our main man, D. Eric.
We need to get him on a show. We've never had him as a guest.
We do, man.
How have we never had him on as a guest?
I love him, man. I absolutely love him. And now Grunt Styles has some involvement with America, and so he's talking about making some magic happen. And for me, I think that just means like a free bottle, and I will take it because me, I never say no to a free bottle of whiskey.
No.
Our second guest, Joseph Esparza.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and line him up and bring him on.
He is not. He is. He just texted. He is. Oh. The governor is about to speak. They're gonna get him on stage, and as soon as that happens, he'll be ready. So I guess that's making it sound like I think the governor's race of Texas is probably coming to a close.
Yeah, I'm trying to look here on. I'm watching all my feeds.
I'm trying to find the which I don't think is very surprising. The Democratic competitor that he was up against was the failed sheriff of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She lost her weapon, took a weapon from the evidence locker to replace the weapon that she lost that. And, so she, as a law enforcement officer, she was like horrible. It sounds like she just straight sucked. Oh, on top of it, she like didn't pay her property taxes for like a decade plus. So not sure how you thought you would like run for office and, like that wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
And then like everyone that worked for you, all the unions and all the people like the rank and file that worked underneath you endorsed the current governor and didn't endorse her. That's a direct reflection. When those that you lead do not endorse you, it's almost as savage as like that guy out, I think it's Arizona, right? Where his family came out and made the commercial, like in opposition to him, like endorsed his like where the brothers and the mom like endorsed like the dudes. It was one of the most savage.
That's not good at all. Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome.
Oh my Lord. Oh man. So to be a little bit before we get him on, which makes sense. He is in the thick of it. He is right there making things happen. So that is not surprising. So we'll get Joe on as soon as we can. Okay, well, I'm getting some bad news in right now, both on the Facebook Live and personal text messages. Friends of mine are losing their mind. Should not be surprised. But it looks like Governor Cuomo, Adolph Cuomo, I call him Adolph Cuomo. I really don't even know what his first name is anymore because I call him Adolph Cuomo so much. It looks like he won re-election in this horrible state that I live in, which would be another reason why I will join many others one day soon and hopefully leaving this place. Because of what he has done to this state. So, it looks like Cuomo has won New York as governor again. So, thank goodness he has all those people downstate in New York City in the 5 boroughs. Thanks a lot, Richlow. That just... I don't know if he's watching. He may be on.
You just like hung the entire election on one man.
One man.
A great man, by the way.
Yes.
A great man.
Who I know did not vote for Cuomo, I'm sure. Anyways, that just happened. And so here comes SAFE Act version 2, I'm sure. Because that will be what he wants to do. He'll want to hang his hat on that one. Anyway, so that's just coming in. I need to have another drink because I gotta drown my sorrows. So Toby, I'll let you chat for a few seconds while I just deal with this.
You're is this your like Megyn Kelly moment or your Rachel Maddows moment where you're like you said on the air and you're like I can't handle this?
No,
like,
this was my what was his Rubio moment where he had to have the drink while he was on the air. This is that one, but it's not water. When you said Megyn Kelly moment, I'm like, I'm not going to get any makeup and put on. What are you talking about? I'm not doing. Oh, look at Tennessee just called for Marsha Blackburn. Good job, Tennessee, for doing that. Marsha Blackburn looks like they've just called it for the Senate. That is good news that Taylor Swift did not have the influence in the state of Tennessee like she hoped she would have.
Let's talk about celebrities real fast. We talked about Beyonce endorsing Beto. You got Taylor Swift, poking in on
Tennessee politics. Yep.
Tennessee. You got Sex in the City, trying to run up in New York. You got all these celebrities trying to like influence stuff and
we've had
really
celebrities run before,
and
right?
They're like going so far. It's like some of them are like, if you go out and vote, like I'll get naked.
There's some rapper in Texas that's promising tickets to his show. He was at a polling place and people, I guess, voted for what he wanted them to vote for. Oh my God, dude, this is just more bad news, Toby. Kristen Kami Gillibrand has won re-election in New York as a senator against Shelley Farley. So here we got Kristen Gillibrand, who only supports women's Me Too movement when it benefits her to. So I can't say I'm surprised though, man. Not this state, but I was hoping, they voted, a Republican governor for many years. So I was hoping maybe they would turn around and wake up. But yep. So Kristen Gillibrand has won re-election as a senator here because we know Schumer's not going anywhere. So there we go. But yes, let's talk celebrities. I'm sorry, I kind of I'm just watching it here and kind of you're getting my real time unedited. Luckily no f-bombs yet. Unedited feelings as I see results come in. So what were you saying about celebrities?
No, like I'm trying to, find any information I can real fast, and it looks like Beto O'Rourke is looking to win Texas.
I'm seeing 49.7 or 49.5 to 49.8 Beto to Cruz. It's looking pretty tight. Florida Governor DeSantis is 1 point ahead of Gilliam or whatever his name is. The Dems' chance to take the House is now dropped from 88% to 56%. Yeah, and Republicans just picked up Indiana as a Senate seat. So it is still pretty fluid. There's a lot of stuff going on. It looks like Robert Menendez will get reelected in New Jersey. That's about as surprising as Cuomo winning because he's about as corrupt and about as crappy of a state as New York is. So Menendez, after all the trials he went through, the corruption stuff and everything, he is going to win reelection in New Jersey. So, yeah, what's surprising? What's surprising,
the
Toby?
Brother of Mike Pence, it looks like he's winning. Greg Pence in Indiana.
Yep.
Looks like he's cruising to a victory.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this: all the gun owners in New York are to fault because there were more gun owners in New York than what Cuomo won by last time, and the guy's trying to, he's about the most anti-gun politician there is. So. For all those that sat at home and didn't get their butt off the couch and go vote, you just go and turn your stuff in because you're the one to blame. Good job there, dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there you have it.
There we go. Honest feedback from Stu himself. Yeah. So people are telling me to move to Tennessee. People are telling me to move to Texas. I mean, Toby, can I crash on your couch? Is that cool? Can I move to Texas?
Hey,
I've crashed on your couch before.
Yeah, no, I want you in Texas. I want all.
But you live in a blue. You live in a blue dot of Texas, though. You live in a pretty blue area of Texas.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
But
it doesn't bother me.
No. You live on a good street, though, except for your neighbor. You live on a good street. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Well, and here's the thing: it's again, why I was speaking about straight ticket earlier. Everyone talks about I live in the Austin area and it is fairly Democrat, which doesn't bother me because they're conservative in all the right ways and they're liberal in all for me in the right ways. They want people that deserve rights, that have earned them, to have them, and they want to protect them. They believe that the rights that are in the Constitution should be loved, appreciated, and protected. But they also are let's make sure that we protect our future, and so it's a different type of blue versus red or red versus blue than in other places, and it doesn't bother me at all. We have wonderful schools, and everything that you could, good streets, good schools, good law enforcement, respect for it.
Hey, they are calling Florida Senate seat for DeSantis. Defeating or not DeSantis for Rick Scott defeating Nelson. That was a flip.
Oh, governor.
Yes, yeah, but for the Senate seat. No, yeah, not the governor yet, but the Senate seat. Rick Scott used to be the governor. He ran for Senate against Bob Nelson.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry.
Yep. So that's a flip. That they just called that. So yeah, anyways, yeah, numbers are coming in. It's control the Senate's looking strong. It looks like it's going to happen. But the House probably not so much. But anyways,
Are you looking at that probability meter?
no, I'm watching Twitter, and I'm actually picked up off of Twitter because it's watching all the different news outlets. I've actually have a politics channel on Twitter, which it's just is one of my channels.
Fancy dancy.
Yep, and it's coming in, but I see the meter thing too, but yeah, I'm getting most of these things coming in off of that. And Florida just passed Amendment 4, restoring voting rights to convicted felons. That just Laura Ingram just came with a great tweet telling Taylor Swift haters gonna hate, shake it off. that was savage.
I mean, like, I don't care who you are. That's funny.
That is savage.
I don't care who you are. That's funny.
Yeah, that is. Wow.
I like Taylor Swift. Like, let the record show.
Yeah. I think you have all.
I mean, I listen to her music. I wouldn't date her, but
do you go to her
concerts?
Know, like,
what's that?
Do you go to her concerts?
I would absolutely take my kids to the concerts.
Usually people take their kids to Taylor Swift concerts.
And I would sing along.
Yeah.
I would sing along. My daughter and I have had some wonderful Taylor Swift moments in the car. Her lyrical content, for the most part, isn't that bad, especially her earlier stuff.
You don't want to be anyone that ever dated her, though, because you're going to get a song about you.
Yeah, well,
that's for
I
sure.
mean, there's already songs about me out there, Troy. I don't know if you know that.
I have. It's Raining Men. Is that one of them? I think. Was that written?
Oh.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? You can text in 512-361-1178. We're getting some comments in there. What do you guys think on how things are going? What do you give us comments in the chat. What do you think do you think that they are going to have we're going to see differences tomorrow? Let's say the House goes to the Democrats and the Senate stay with the Republicans. Is it status quo? Is it just fighting back and forth? Are we going to make any progress? I mean, if you look at what we've had, the Republicans have been in charge the last 2 years, and a lot of things the president wanted to get done didn't get done. Some things got done, but not a lot.
Call Joe.
Oh, he's ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So while I do that, I'll let you kind of cue things up there, Toby.
No, like the exciting part about this is maybe it was a decade and a half ago. Like, there was the whole Rock the Vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
MTV got involved. They're like, hey, we're gonna like get the young people involved in the process, and
What happened? Where'd you talk? You're reading something.
The Rock the Vote movement was big. They got all these celebrities in, and it was really cool to see like the influence of pop culture on getting people to vote. Not necessarily telling people who to vote for, but like getting them to vote.
Right.
And
right.
one of the things that's this year is like people are out there voting. Joe, is that you, my man?
That's me. Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Good.
Oh, like everybody that's tuning in, you are listening to one of my main homies in the world right now. He is a ninth generation Texan. That's right. His family's name are on the wall of the Alamo. That's right, my main man here. He is a United States Marine Corps combat veteran, machine gunner. And that's right.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. How are y'all doing?
Well, we're in the mid throes of the election night. We are not at some party listening to an awesome speech.
No,
what's it like being in the belly of the
beast
beast right now?
Yeah. No, we're here in Austin, downtown Austin. The Spasmatics just took a break.
Nice.
And I think we
love the Spasmatics.
Yes.
You guys have the Spasmatics.
They have we get them so many times. Anything that we do for parties, always get the Spasmatics. They're always just good to have on, and they do a great job.
They
do a great job with the crowd, and you know what? They're conservative.
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
No
we're
Bob
good.
Schneider. No Bob Schneider.
No, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to find a good band that really kind of follows the your principle and enjoys it. So we always get the A team. We're throwing a party in San Antonio, and they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's get the A team. They're supposed to play in Houston, so let's get them out there and give them a jam, play some My Sharona, and it's kind of our crowd, I guess.
So what's the feelings like? I mean, obviously, we're coming off a term where the governor's been extremely successful. Been able to do some wonderful things. He is probably going to go down in history as like the number 2 supporter of veterans in Texas history, and I think that's just because he hasn't had enough time to do all the things that he wants to do. But what's it like there in the belly of the beast, not listening to the Spasmatics?
Well, and I'll make one comment about that. Is as much as the state can do for veterans, he actually has a lot of good ideas. Always make sure that we have people chipping in on putting veterans in jobs and making sure that they've got a front of the line kind of thing where he's always touted that, as far as like, let's make sure that we can get any training that they've done, that veterans have done on their own, and make sure that can carry over into some kind of, technical training that they don't have to take, 3 years to get. But, it's like with anything when it comes down to it. So we're always looking for good ideas. And Toby, I've reached out to you a number of times to talk about a lot of these issues that we can go and kind of come in. And we just kind of, hey, what are you hearing? What's good? What can we do better? And, it's more than, me being on the staff, just making sure the uniforms look good. It's just kind of, it's great because he's always the type of person that looks around and says, who's the expert? We just need to get those guys in the room and let them know, or let them tell us what's the best way to tackle these things. So, but yeah, and I think that's a lot of the best reasons why I enjoy working for him, and I believe in that guy. And it's just kind of like you say, you got to believe in what you're doing, and to work your fingers off to get him reelected is it's never a slam dunk, but I think they might have called it for us. I think we just got our El Paso numbers in, and I think we got him. I think he's going to win by 10 points, but 10 points isn't enough for us. Texas is the backstop of conservative. As the governor says, as goes Texas, so goes the U.S. We definitely are the backstop. We need to make sure that, well, this is kind of what we were working for. We were working for these numbers to turn out, just to have such an overwhelming win that, the Soros and Democrat, outside of Texas would stop pouring money in here. And that's kind of what we're always working for, just to make sure that they know that your money's going to be wasted. You can send your money to Texas, but it's not going to turn around. So that's kind of why we're watching the cruise race right now. I think it was 51-47 the last I saw for Beto. So I don't know. We're going to be watching that one all night. Hopefully they don't call it too premature, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, like we're paying attention to that one too. Most places are projecting Beto as the winner. So it's really interesting, from an outsider perspective. And when I say outsider, I mean someone just driving a neutral third party driving down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, his signs are everywhere. And like
Yeah.
earlier on, I was like, man, I no matter what happens, I'm just excited for this race to be over because every sign reminds me of Whataburger, and I need to go get some. And
that's right. Yeah, you know what? All those spicy ketchup packs in everybody's front yard. Yeah, Toby, I was walking down here from our office to the venue, and I saw a dinosaur with a Beto vote Beto sign, and it was like dinosaurs. I'm not sure if they can vote, but I guess they're going to get whoever they can vote. into those
Well, you
polls, and they're going to
can't-
vote twice. So
You can't ask for ID, you know, like
yeah,
yes, Mr. Pterodactyl.
blow up dinosaurs are kind of where you got. So
Hey, coming in right
Yeah,
now on our
more
chat, Justin is saying CBS is calling it for Cruz.
is that right?
Yeah, that's what they're
I
leaning
think
towards a Cruz, is what they're saying, and it,
Man, I hope so, because I'm looking. They're momentarily sending out announcing numbers here, and I think just in between our Wi-Fi gave out long ago, so I don't think we're getting the good numbers.
So, what are?
I don't know if that was my job to make sure.
So, just Joe, obviously, I get to ask you these questions all the time.
Yeah.
But what are some of the fascinating things that happen when on like a gubernatorial race such as this? Like outside of the debates, outside of the cool little rallies, like what are some of the highlights that you would say, are part of the process that people don't necessarily get to see, and that you really wish if there was something that you're one of the best storytellers visually, Troy. You guys got to get to know each other better, Troy, because like Joe can paint a picture with a camera better than most people I've ever met in my life. He's super talented. And
always with the compliments, Toby. Thanks, buddy. No, I think I know what you're asking, but most likely, I guess a little bit different from when we ran in 2014, where the governor was the then Attorney General. As governor, running in the campaign with, as we're campaigning, our reelection campaign, he still had his job. I mean, he definitely was 100%, on state time, working, making these events, and I think probably one of the most interesting things, and also the almost a couple of the worst things you could possibly imagine was the Sutherland Springs shooting that happened. And he was, we got him down there. And I mean, when things like this, we change on a stop on a dime and have him, switch back, out of campaign mode into just a. I don't want to say, you just kind of explained it to just be as a compassionate, concerned person. He turns back over and says, we got to get down there. Let's figure out what we can do and what needs to be done. And, what do we do after this? It's again, who are the experts? We get.
Hey, so we just got a question, Joe, in our chat room that, and I answered it because I was pretty confident in it, but I'll let you speak to this. And the question came about the percentage of law enforcement officers that came out and supported the governor. And I just said 100%.
Yeah, I can almost imagine it was quite a bit. I think
if you're a cop, how could you cheer for someone that lost a weapon, stole a weapon, and lost that one too?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, and it magically appeared, I think, is what the Dallas Morning News had talked about. It's like, oh well, it was just misclassified. Well, there you go. But no, law enforcement has. I mean, we've got so many outpourings of organizations. We had a great number of organizations in 2014 that came out, and then groups that I hadn't even known were out there found us. We definitely had the Dallas County Deputy Association. So these are our candidate. Obviously was the deputy Dallas County Sheriff. So everybody that worked for her basically came out and supported us, and then the dominoes fell after that. We had the TMPA, the Texas Municipal Police Association, CLEAT, DPS, state troopers, everybody that just really kind of threw their weight and also, their support. So, I mean, it's that usually is my job in getting coalitions to, to get them involved. I mean, more so just, it's great to get their endorsement, but, when they start talking to other folks and they, start multiplying our voice and our message in with their counties, that's kind of when it's kind of like playing small ball, but I mean, small ball wins.
Joe, we really appreciate it. We know it is tough for you to break away, especially when the Spasmatics are playing. And, we're super proud of you.
Well, I'm excited to finally get a chance to give you guys a call while you're live. I always get to see you guys on Facebook, and every time I get a chance, I always like what you guys talk about and where you're going, and y'all ask great questions. So, but yeah, I mean, I just kind of want to, I'll let you guys get back to it, but I think I'm always available for folks to talk about, issues, policy within the state. We have a definitely open door policy about people calling and needing things. I may not have the answers, but I think I've met enough people to figure out who would have the answers, and if we can get it right to the governor, he's definitely appreciative of our veterans, and he knows what that means here to the state of Texas. So.
Are there any races outside of the Cruz O'Rourke race that we should pay attention to that are worthy?
I think we were.
We have a national audience, so anything.
We're watching Rick Scott out there in Florida. I think it was kind of too close to call with that. I think Como had already won up there in New York, and but outside of that, it's we've got. I don't know the numbers, but I think the House is in jeopardy. But I think we should carry the state again, or the Senate. So, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm kind of internally focused here at the Senate race. So, I'm hoping we get to start seeing a better vibe around here when those numbers come up.
Right before you leave, and any commentary on the local congressional race. Between MJ, who went viral for the Doors commercial, and
with
Congressman
the drive-by candy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I hope so. I hope that really kind of turns out. I think Williamson County stays very conservative. But what we're looking at here, I think, it's going to the O'Rourke campaign is the steamroller. They're going to bring a lot of even if he doesn't win, he's going to probably toe the line for a lot of those lower cards and other areas that came out to vote. So I haven't seen those numbers. I think Carter's okay. I think he should stay out a pretty good win here and kind of continue on. So, but we'll check as soon as it comes up.
Well, next time the governor is willing to buy a round of beers. Let me know where I need to go because
yeah, buddy.
I heard he's good for it.
Well, I do want to have a claim to fame there. Toby Nunn is the unofficial veteran spokesperson for the campaign on our videos. Our when the governor had signed his papers to run again. We had Toby out there. Talking us through our videos. It went viral. We kicked it all over the place. News came on, so it was good. So we definitely appreciate you, Toby, and thanks, Troy. You guys, y'all doing good work, and y'all keep this messaging and keep the airwaves open for sanity and common sense. I think is what I like watching and what I like hearing from you guys.
All right, Joe.
Yeah,
well, you and I are we're gonna get out in the great outdoors before you know it, and no one I'd rather spend it with than you. And have fun with the Spasmatics tonight. I hope it's a great party.
Well,
sure.
Yeah. After tonight, I'll be out of a job after tonight, but hopefully I land something pretty good.
Yeah, no, and if not, you and I'll go hike Big Bend. That'll be great.
You bet. Let's do it. All right, man.
All right, Joe.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks again.
Thank you, buddy.
Right, love you, man.
Yep.
We're off, fellas.
All right, everybody. There we go.
No, like that's one of the things that's so cool about our lives, Troy. It's not just the show, and this show is an extension of our lives.
Yeah.
But man, we get to roll with some of the coolest human beings on earth, of all race, creed. Like we were talking about, Rich Lowe earlier. Up in New York, we're talking about people. Think of all the different people that are in our sphere, right? From movie stars to
singers to authors,
platinum selling record, singers to authors to, we are absolutely just blessed, with some of the most amazing people, and we've had two of them on tonight.
Yeah.
Like Chad Robichaux, like one of the greatest Americans ever. For a Cajun, he's pretty damn cool, and for a short dude, not many people on earth are shorter than me. Chad's one of them.
It's someone you can look down on.
Like God put a burden on his life, and it was to be shorter than Toby. But Joe and all these guys, and we're not even done yet. We're not even. You know what this is? It's a comb. You know why? Because I got hair.
Yeah. That's why I wear a hat. Yeah, we're not. And our next guest is ready to go. So I told him I'd just let him know. But yeah, we are, because he was supposed to come on at 9:30, so I told him we had to push him a little bit. But and said we had live campaign action going on.
And I'm like, Rob asked in the Facebook chat, asked a really interesting question. Do you think if Cruz loses, he contests? And that's so interesting because, I bet he could, and he might be that guy.
Yeah,
he might be that guy.
All right. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So I'm gonna spin up and take it where I'm gonna turn it to your cartoon character there.
But for the people that are listening that don't know who the Spasmatics are,
you're missing it. Oh man, they are so awesome. I've seen them so many times.
Didn't they play a private party for y'all for your company not too long ago?
Every year they play. We get them every year to play our private party. Yes. And this last year they didn't. So we had another good band. It was really good. Everyone was real upset we didn't get the Spasmatics. But then as soon as they closed, we went down.
you have Sheryl Crow or someone super famous, and you're like, "What? No Spasmatics?"
Oh, we were pissed. There was no Spasmatics, but it was a good band who we had. But then the Spasmatics were playing down at a place called right down the road, downtown Austin. Oh, dude.
So you guys went watched the?
Yeah, we went to there. It was like an outside venue. You'd know it if I could think of the name of it. But we went there and closed the place. Closed it when there was no one left. Yeah. So
a couple of years ago, the Spasmatics did a really cool free show for everybody at the Round Rock Express. And we loaded up the kids and everybody, and we had it was wonderful. We had some great seats. We had a box that we were guests at that night. And we went and we sat and we listened to Spasmatics. We had a wonderful time, and we're like, "Oh, this is so cool."
Yep. All right.
2 weeks later, we're in Las Vegas, and my wife and I are both there. We're both there on separate work trips, so we're trying to put it together, and try and make two wrongs make a right in terms of her business trip and my business trip. And we were staying off strip. And wouldn't you know it, who's playing the casino that we're staying at for the week? The Spasmatics.
Yeah.
And dude, the show, what, all the fun that's happening, and people are looking at me, and I was like, best time ever.
Yeah, you know who else is a Spasmatic, and someone else we've spent time in Vegas with, and that's our next guest, Mr. Uncle Jimbo Hansen. Hey Jim, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you guys.
Yeah. Jim, have you ever seen the Spasmatics? You ever seen them play?
I've seen the Plasmatics, Wendy O. Williams and them, and never seen the Spasmatics.
Yeah, Spasmatics, they're like the Plasmatics. Yeah, it's good. Wendy O. with the mohawk.
Wrong pipe.
Yeah. Yeah, the Spasmatics, they play all 80s stuff. They have the tape. They look like the Nerds, and they got the taped up glasses, and it's they play classic 80s stuff. They're a great cover band. Yeah, you ever get a chance. They do play in Vegas. Yeah, they play at the Hard Rock. But
I'm in.
Hey Jim, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
I'm good. What are we going to talk about? Football? What's going on? Anything tonight?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Kaepernick kneeling, and we're going to talk about the Ukraine.
How about MLS soccer?
And
talk about soccer.
We're going to talk about Malaysian
That's
flight.
One of my favorite subjects.
We're going to talk about that Malaysian flight that went down. I think they're still looking for it. With OJ's looking for the real killer.
Is having a live coverage of that right now.
They're just showing the ocean.
And they are too, because you know why? The election's not going their way, so they got to find something else to talk about.
Well, funny you mention that.
Yeah, since you brought that up, let's dive on in.
So it's not going their way, but everyone's calling right now that the Dems are going to take the House. and it seemed to be pretty consistent about that. And the Republicans are going to keep the Senate. What do you think that means if the Dems take the House, as everyone's calling?
I think it means a whole lot of craziness from the Democrat committee leaders. Because think about it, Maxine Waters running the Finance Committee, Nancy Pelosi looking all crazy and not quite right in the head, banging her giant gavel. And they're going to have investigations of everything to find nothing. And they will absolutely start trying to impeach Trump, which is the best thing that could happen to the Republicans for 2020. So I think it'll be a complete clown car show. And they'll embarrass themselves and actually, hurt their chances to win anything that matters in 2020.
Yeah, it's funny you mention this. So they can, if I remember right, they can bring the charges of impeachment, but the Senate has to actually hear it, and the Senate is the one that tries it. But if the Senate doesn't accept it, then there's nothing that happens, right? So,
and the Republicans are picking up seats in the Senate, so I don't think there's going to be very, very much sadness. All the liberal pundits are already starting to whinge a bit, and saying, James Carville's saying, this is not the blue wave we were promised, and Paul Krugman's whining that this isn't going the way they want, and good. I think that's healthy and happy, and it's honestly, it's crazy because this was their big shot. They threw everything they had into this election cycle. It's a midterm. They've got a president who they've made as unpopular as possible from their side, and they're going to get almost nothing. They would have got this if they were running against any Republican. You know what I mean? They were going to pick up about this many seats because it's a midterm, and that's what happens.
Right.
So the fact that they can't do any better than this is a giant rebuke to the entire liberal crazy cause, and I think it's good for America.
So this isn't the definition of the blue wave by them taking the House, which was almost expected.
No. I mean, come on. Look at what happened in the midterms for Obama.
Right. He lost 60 seats, right?
Massive amounts of seats.
Yeah. And that's been pretty much the common thing, right? That's pretty much they usually do lose in the midterms. Does it say anything about if the Republicans keep the Senate? Is that a everyone said that President Trump is the one really on the ballot here, and of course we've seen him doing this blitzkrieg cross country campaigning for the last 11 days. The dude's got serious energy for his age. Does this say something about them keeping the Senate, if not picking up more seats in the Senate, which is looking like right now?
It's hugely important. First of all, the House is supposed to go a little bit crazy. It's the populist chamber.
Right.
They have elections every 2 years. Everybody's up. Whichever way the pendulum's swinging, the House goes. The Senate's where the important stuff happens, like confirming Supreme Court justices.
Right.
So if it so happens, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg finally decides to, take her nap somewhere else than on the bench, we're going to have the Supreme Court battle for all Supreme Court battles. So even picking up one seat in the Senate is massive in making sure that Trump can get another judge confirmed. And getting one more judge confirmed would do so much for our Constitution and this republic, from stopping the left from they wanted. If they had Hillary in, think about it. They'd have two more liberal editors of the Constitution busy finding new rights and erasing stuff they don't like, and whiting things out and adding what they want to the Constitution. We stopped that by getting Trump elected and by putting two conservatives on the bench. Putting another one on the bench would be massive and would give us 20 or 30 years more running room before the left can actually try to burn that document again.
Do you think that's the real importance, or the most important outcome of this election is that versus, Texas flipping, or some of these other states that may flip, or Florida having a flip or something like that? Do you think it's really the ability to continue picking Supreme Court justices?
Without a doubt. During the 2016 election, I was a one-issue voter. I was a never Hillary voter because I did not want her picking Supreme Court justices, because if she got them on the bench, like I said, they could go ahead and decide, that First Amendment is awesome, except if it hurts people's feelings. Right. And we have to worry about hate speech because that's important. And they would just invent a right to stop speech that causes people bad feels. And then, of course, the Second Amendment would be muskets and bayonets and nothing much more. That would be a guarantee. They would have just whittled that down to nothing. So even though everyone wants to get all fixated on these races each time, our electoral politics swing back and forth constantly. It's a oh my God, the most amazing thing in the world. If Beto gets elected in Texas, it's a sign that the blue wave is coming or whatever.
Right.
No, it's not. It's a sign that one politician may beat another politician. But if the Supreme Court goes the wrong way, they are the last refuge for our entire republic. So I think, yeah, it's always about the Supreme Court, and locking down a 6-3 or still even, solidifying our 5-4 majority is huge. And then getting the Senate. So Trump's got an easy way to confirm anybody new he wants to bring into his cabinet and things like that. The Senate matters. The House is, it's a nut house.
Right. We were talking earlier, Toby was talking about the impact of celebrities on this election. We see now that Taylor Swift's pitch in Tennessee did not pan out. And, Beto...
But she'll probably get a good song about how sad it was for her, right?
I'm sure she will. Yeah, there will probably be a song being written by next week. And then we see, Beto, whatever his name is, Robert there in Texas has had every celebrity, including Beyonce, just hours ago pitching for him. And now it looks like they are calling more and more places. They're calling. It looks like it's going to go to Cruz. Is this a wake-up call for the celebrities that no one really cares what you say or think? Or is it all going to be a conspiracy come tomorrow? Because nobody listens.
No, I mean it proves the fact that the people who listen to celebrities are morons anyhow. Anyone who votes based on what Beyonce thinks was probably too dumb to find their way to the polling place and probably didn't vote. So anybody says, "Yeah, Beyonce said vote for Beto." No, those people are not really relevant because they're not convincing people who were worth convincing. And I think it's good. I think it's great, like I said, that they went all out. They brought them all out. Bring every celebrity. Bring every, bigwig on the left. Spend, $100 million on the Senate race in Texas and lose, hopefully? Good. Show us what you got. Show us how bad it is and how you can't actually even win with that. And it'll be so much better for the Republicans next time around.
But Jim, what if they win in Texas? Like, I know you said they said, well, I mean, I think that it's a reality that I, as a guy living in Texas, might be facing here in a couple hours. But I get the Supreme Court bit, but that's a pretty huge statement in the dynamic and the paradigm of Texas politics. I mean, Texas politics is not used to being blue.
No, and that's fair. You're right. I mean, I think that's a good point, is that some of the rest of these that may swing back and forth don't matter, but it is a fair point to say that if Texas elects a skateboard, cross-dressing, punk rock wanker like O'Rourke to replace Ted Cruz, I think that would be a sign that there's a problem. Okay, we'll accept that that's a problem. I think they got lucky, and I think they spent so much time, effort, and energy on him that they propelled him well beyond what he should be. But he's taking on a sitting senator, an incumbent senator, and that almost never goes the wrong way, especially in that red estate. So, I think you make a good point. That would be that would be big.
And so here's the reason I bring it up, Jim, is because like you and I are both well versed in the power of incumbency. Cruz has not led a good campaign. Like Cruz, did not meet this giant of a platform that got thrust in front of him. There's Beto signs. There's hardly any Cruz signs. He's like betting on the power of incumbency. He's betting on name recognition. He's betting on that stuff. And they're like beating him at his own game. They're beating him at commercials. They're beating him at the stuff. Like, he should have no issues. He's going against a guy that's never been in this kind of platform before. He's going about a guy that like copied the Whataburger ketchup. His whole logo is based off the Whataburger ketchup package. And
not a bad idea. I mean,
no, it's actually brilliant because it makes me hungry every time I see a sign.
Right. Well,
I see somebody with
he's
an
getting-
in and out
but
arrow
he's
on
getting
the next
beat.
one.
He's getting beat, and people are like, I said earlier in the show before he came on, like, I have members of my family that have candles, and we're talking about the candles that you would light for the Virgin Mary, like, and they were like happy to pass these out. Like, he's tapped into something. I mean, the dude is been arrested for DUI. He's been arrested for burglary. He is the epitome of white privilege because his daddy, who's a judge, got him off of stuff. He's using a nickname, a street name, that's Hispanic, while his name's Robert Francis O'Rourke. And he is like changing the thing. Like, this like is not being lost on me. And like, I'm not saying one way or another how I feel about it. What I'm saying is, like, the dude's winning. Like,
Yeah.
even if he loses, he's kind of won some shit here. Like, he's got some juice.
Oh, he's gonna be
Yeah, well,
he's gonna be
let's give
speaking at the
credit where
next.
credit's
He'll be guest speaker at the keynote at one of the next DNC convention.
Oh, he'll have a
No doubt.
prime
And I
time
was
spot.
Just, that's a great point, because I was just going to say, he reminds me of Obama. He's a white Obama, where they found a very good, charming politician. All right, and that people on the left and in the center like. They like the guy. All right, and he is. He's a likable little weasel. He's a rascally scamp. He's all those things, and they're willing to overlook his youthful indiscretions. Almost makes him cuter. Wearing his little dress in the punk rock band. That's cute. It is, okay? All those things are actually appealing in a politician. They humanize him. And Ted Cruz's biggest problem is he does not come across as likable.
No.
You know what I mean? He seems forced in almost every political interaction. They never seem cool. He never seems like a guy who's just there and handling things. And when the Democrats get somebody like that, and they put the machine behind him, and remember, they own Hollywood, they own the creative industries, and they packaged Beto like they did Obama, and they turned him into something you could project everything you want in a politician onto. He stands for nothing. He's a generic, vanilla Democrat politician. But because he comes across so likably and all that, then everyone can say, well, I like him because, he represents me. Well, he represents nothing.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that, because, like, I disagree a little bit. He's not that vanilla. In fact, he's pretty radical, even on Democratic terms. I mean, like, Nancy Pelosi isn't talking about abolishing ICE. Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters,
that's a fair point.
they're not talking about, like, legalizing all narcotics, dude, there's two of the greatest Californians of all time, right? And like Texas, like, I'm keeping it real, bro. Like, we talked earlier, like 70% of the country, from a lot of polling is saying that they're cool with the legalization of marijuana, but Beto's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, open it
Bring
all.
it on.
And it's like,
well,
and as a father, like, hopefully none of my children are tuned in right now. Like, I've partaken in things in the past. Pre-military, I enjoyed a good party, and like,
you'll never be on the Supreme Court now, dude.
Yeah, no, like, and
no, that ain't gonna happen.
Believe me, there's a lot more reasons for that I should never.
None
be
of
on.
us are
things
gonna.
That they were trying to pin Kavanaugh on. I've done worse.
Yes, none of us are gonna make. The
I like
Court.
more than beer, and I definitely love women. So, like, that's the furthest of my fears. No, but
hey, I want to real quick. I want to jump in here.
Radical stuff.
I want to jump in with, speaking of radical, and speaking of and just I don't know. Speaking of radical, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to Congress. New York 14 has voted the most clueless woman ever to run for office.
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
And
that's your
That's
people, bro.
That's not my
Fantastic news.
people. That's downstate. That's downstate. We cut them people off. The 5 boroughs can separate and go be their own country. They don't have anything.
Dude, that's
That's the one that was like,
fantastic
I'm not really versed in like geopolitical issues, right? Like that's her, right? The socialist.
Yeah, the socialists.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the unbright socialist, the
Yes.
socialist who doesn't even understand her own socialism. She is just a blessing for Republicans and the right, because every time she opens her mouth, people are like, I can't deal with that. Those people cannot be in charge of anything important. So perfect. Let her represent, the crazier parts of New York City. And then every time they put her, and they'll put her on TV, they're going to keep putting her on TV.
Oh yeah.
And she will keep winning voters for the right. So bravo, well done.
Yeah, she's a walking gaff, better than Uncle Joe, Crazy Joe.
Exactly.
Yeah, she is.
She's the one that they like asked her some like softball questions and she whiffed on, right?
Oh yeah, she can't
She
even
was
like.
the one like that whiffed on like the Palestinian-Israeli like conflict.
She said she wasn't all that
like,
versed
probably
in all
the
that.
most prolific conflict of not just our generation, but 2 prior to us and at least 1 following us. And she was like, I'm not that well versed on that. Like she's
No
Yeah.
big deal. I mean, come on. Who among us hasn't failed to understand one of the most powerful geopolitical, strategic fights and wars in our time?
she reminds me.
She's got
of, like, that
78%.
cheap
She's
movie.
got 78% of her district, dude. She won that hands down. They just
Dude, that's awesome.
They just
Dude,
vote.
like,
They vote the line.
what was that Eddie Murphy movie, The Distinguished Gentleman? Right? Like, is she like the distinguished like gentle lady? Is like, is she?
Yeah.
Like, oh man,
You can
it's
make
coming
Eddie
to fruition.
Murphy look like the king.
It's like it's coming to fruition.
Yeah. The
Well, and again, but that's part of the joy of having Democrat control of the House, because I kind of think it would be fun to have them slap down and not win the House, because that would be a rebuke to liberalism overall. But if they do win control of it, they will go so far overboard using their committee power to have investigations and do stupid things and just basically try to attack Trump in the dumbest ways that it's going to be a blessing. So I think, she's emblematic of the win, because there is no Democrat Party anymore. It's the liberal progressives who run as Democrats who now are in charge of that. And okay, yeah, you may have some of the old school Democrats as the leadership, but they're lost too. They are lost to this crazy wing of their party, and they're all going to let their freak flags fly and go just berserk. And I can't wait, honestly. It's going to be fun.
So what are your thoughts on guys like Bernie? He like steamrolled through, easy Elizabeth Warren, easy victory. What's your commentary on that?
Gillibrand, easy victory. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's your power of incumbency, and there's your, safe seats and all that, and good. They were generic. Bernie's who Bernie is. He's the socialist everybody loves. Hey, I'm Bernie. And Liz Warren is what she is. Now officially, 1/10/24 fake. But when you look at what they're going to be in the new power structure, I don't think they're going to be brokers anymore. I think their time is kind of past. They're going to be a problem for the Democrat Party because they come from, the liberal wing. But I think the person who really scares me and the one that I worry about is Kamala Harris, because she is just the perfect. If you were going to build your evil Democrat candidate, you pick a black woman from California. And she's kind of like, in the same way that you can package a candidate, she is a deadly, scary, potential Trump killer for 2020. And so she's the one I actually concerns me a lot more than, although Bernie could give her trouble.
I say, you think she
anybody can
pulls
knock her out
that
of
much weight?
nomination.
You think she can pull that much weight though? You think she has that
I
much?
hope they screw her over the way they screwed Bernie over for some reason.
Right.
But other than that, I think she's if I was going to field, if I could sit in a smoke-filled room of Democrats like they used to do and pick a candidate to run against Trump, I'd pick her.
You don't see Hillary coming back?
Oh God, please. Oh my God, that would be a sign that God truly does love
Like,
us. Was if that foul, wretched old Harridan runs again. God, and she's just narcissistic enough to do it. You know, I mean, she was cheated last time, and you know, who knows? The Russians stole an election from her. Maybe she comes back. If she does, that would be the best thing that happens because the party will eat itself.
Yeah.
You know, she's got enough power that she'll throw a monkey wrench in everything they're trying to do, and they'll waste a bunch of time and money and look stupid and attack each other. So please run.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the best gift we can get.
No doubt.
I mean, I know Alex Jones is hoping she runs again, and quietly, like I'm hoping for it too because I just want to watch his commentary because like he comes up with some crazy shit where he's like, look, like this like pinion joint just fell out of her hip. Like I have it on camera, like. And
but where can you
like,
watch him anymore? Didn't everywhere block him or something?
She's
and
wearing an exoskeleton. She's
and I like burning, you know, like 2 to 3 hours of my time going down that rabbit hole during like the work day. Good thing I own my own company.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
God. That could be fun.
What I dread is I cannot stand to see Pelosi's freaking mug behind the president of the State of the Union anymore. It turns my stomach. I physically get ill seeing her twitching, freaking stroke-induced freaking smile. You know, and Maxine Waters. I mean, I just dread, and all the rest of them just taking over all those key committees. It is. Because you know why? Because what the Democrats have done for the last 2 years, all this interruption they had during the Kavanaugh stuff, which now that we know, right, was pretty much all fake, and everything else, all the interruptions that they did over and over, breaking all the parliamentary rules, the Republicans aren't going to do that. They're not going to stoop to that level.
Think about one thing though. When if you know, and let's hope the Republicans still pull it out and they don't take the House because I'd prefer that. But even if they do, and Pelosi's sitting there, like you said, twitching like a crack-addled mosquito, Trump's going to be the one standing in front of her, just kicking the crap out of the Democrats in every way, shape, and form. And I wouldn't put it past him to turn around and hassle her directly. So, you know, I mean, there's never been anybody like him standing there giving a State of the Union who will attack their opponents directly anytime, any place, anywhere. So
I just hope he turns a little bit.
Painful.
I just hope he turns a little bit and crop duster right there on the stage. That'd be the best.
Oh, it's horrible, but somehow I laughed and am secretly happy about that joke. Like, do you think they would bring her back?
Yeah, she'll be the speaker. They've already said that. But she's getting it by saying she's only going to hold it for a little while because so many of the young House members were like they didn't want her anymore. I mean, how could they even have her? I don't know. But so she has made some kind of concession or something, saying that she'll only do it just to transition power, and she'll just be a House limit. Like, you know, every other speaker hasn't been able to transition just fine without needing a handoff. You know, but yeah, she's promising.
There's a rip Toa for the rip Toa.
Yeah, it's a right seat, left seat right there. Exactly. Oh man.
But I mean, you can't say right though.
Yeah. Hey, guess who can't say right? And that's the Mitt Romney being called for U.S. Senate for Utah. Mitt Romney back in the political seat there. Yes.
Hey, I'm going to go with the giant, big, amazing who gives a rat's ass on that one.
I didn't even know he was in it.
He didn't even know he's in it.
Who cares?
Didn't even know he was running. Yes.
Yeah.
He no, you can't win.
He's a black hole of charisma.
But
Jim, I don't know if you know this, but I was slotted to be his Secretary of Defense. So
I had heard that. I heard that. I was
super
pretty excited. Now
awkward.
that would have been fun.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, like let the Canadian loose. Let the Canadian loose.
We need a crazed Canadian running the
Like-
U.S. Defense Department.
You thought there was an apology tour when Obama was in power? Wait till you see what I bring.
I'm sorry.
hey, we invaded you.
Country
Sorry. Hey,
Oh,
we
my bad, eh? Sorry, I bombed you. But I got this new Moab. I had to try it out. I'm sorry.
sorry. Yes.
It'd be an actual enactment of Team America World Police.
Yeah. Oh, our ships.
And if I didn't like, the person that was asking me a question in the briefing, I'd turn on the Quebecois. I'm sorry, my name is Toby. I'm the Secretary of Defense, and unfortunately, I had to take a little offense here by dropping the Moab on your people. My bad. Hey, sorry.
Toby would change the name to DEFENCE for day one.
Oh God, no. Start putting U's in the word color and stuff like that.
Oh no, like that. First act.
Brian Adams and Rush playing on every AFN channel worldwide.
Dude, like you can't always have drowning pool. You can't always have drowning pool. Some days you got to go with the Robin Hood soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
Oh my
No, dude, I would actually literally start a civil war over that.
You're welcome.
Yes.
For the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, he's a senator, so maybe I don't know what, you can't really do nothing there, I guess. No defense there unless the Mormons stand up, but that's a whole other topic. Yeah, so Jimbo, well, you've been on with us for a while. Is there anything you want to make sure our listeners and viewers know about, and that you want to hit on? Anything you think that just people aren't even paying attention to or noticing that you think is pretty key that American people know?
Absolutely not.
Or they should focus
Life
on?
is perfect. No, I'll tell you what. What I'm going to be fighting for come January more than anything else is free speech. I think, regardless of the rest of the pieces of this political puzzle, all of the social media and tech giants have gone absolutely crazy with viewpoint discrimination. They've been called out on it. Some of it has been fixed in small ways, but this election has been shifted massively by the fact that Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter discriminate against conservative viewpoints and consequently make it more difficult for those views to populate, and propagate among the populace, and for Democrat ones to replace them. And consequently, they've shifted our information landscape, and I'm sick of it. So we've got inroads with some of the federal agencies that may be doing investigations of some of this election meddling, viewpoint discrimination, free speech, antitrust. There's any number of ways to make their lives miserable, and they've got a choice. They can either let the ideas flow free and let the people decide in the marketplace of information, handle things, or we can shine a light up their butt, and I'm fine either way.
Okay. All right. Well,
so that's going to be my.
That's your new focus of. Is that for the SSG? Is that what you're focusing on, or is that just what you, Jimbo?
That'd be part
on?
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, me personally, SSG will do some of it because we believe that free speech is a foundational issue for the country and the entire system. That was the first thing we decided: is if you're not free to speak, you don't have a country. So. That'll be part of it. It's a first principle. But, yeah, there'll be more, and we'll let you know. There's some new initiatives that will be popping out of the weeds.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight with us, Jim. We're watching closely as we'll see what happens. I mean, they're definitely calling, the Republicans are definitely going to keep control of the Senate, and as things are flipping red. But it's not looking good for the House for sure. But we'll see because as it crosses over into California and those polls start closing, we will start seeing some things shift there. But Toby, I don't think we have anything else for Jim. Let him go. Appreciate it.
Well, one last thing for Jim, and that's I look forward to your next cover tune on Facebook being either Rush or Brian Adams.
Yeah.
Or maybe Loverboy. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, keep your own Loverboy.
It ain't gonna be Brian Adams. I can guarantee you there will be no Brian Adams in my future. But a little Rush could happen. Maybe Trees. That's always a good song.
Ooh.
There is unrest in the forest. There's trouble with the trees, my brothers.
There is. Love you, brother, man. Thank you for everything for our country. Love seeing you on Fox. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks for spending a little bit of your time tonight in D.C. while the madness is going on with your brothers. It's definitely appreciated, not overlooked, and we are so grateful.
Yep.
Hey, thanks you guys for doing this, and it has been a blast. So have fun the rest of the night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later, Jim. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. there we go, Toby. It's wow. That was look at that. It's been just a hair over 2 hours since we started, and just like we called it, it was gonna go by quick. A lot of news came in. Republican Kramer just won. Looks like just defeated and won North Dakota. And they're still calling it, still leaning for Cruz.
North Dakota. That's a big market.
Yeah, yeah. So sorry about that. It's right next to Canada.
Sorry.
But yeah, let's. Oh God, Fox has this picture of Pelosi up there. I was like, can't they remove that? I'm just turning my stomach. So, Democrats have picked up 7 in the House so far. They've lost 1 in the Senate, and things are still churning through the night. But who knows? You know what, Toby? 2 years ago, nobody had a clue what was going to happen. Everyone thought they called it. The polls called it. Maybe we'll see what happens tonight as things come in. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Big race in Indiana just went from Donnelly, and Indiana seat was a big pickup there. But we'll see what happens. Anything else you want to cover on tonight, Toby? We talked a lot. We talked to some great folks with Jimbo on, and Joe and Chad, and we had a number of other guests. So our listeners knowing that a number of other people we were looking at, talked to, we were going to try to bring him in, but then we just realized we were just filling the show up. We could have went all night, and we didn't want to do that to you. But
it's been wonderful. I love this process. I'll be honest with you. I'm excited for it to be over. For a lot of reasons, like people joked about it earlier. Kaiser was in the chat room talking about tired of getting the text messages. I too am tired of getting the text messages. The signs, the awkwardness at the dinner table while people are talking about this stuff. So I'm excited for this to be over. I believe wholeheartedly that whether I agree with the outcome or not, it's the voice of the people. I am excited and motivated to say that I think this year, this election, more people have been engaged, more people are doing the vote than in the past. So maybe it's a better cross section. But I'll also say some of the most ridiculous shit that I've ever heard in my life has been uttered. And some people have just, been taking it in it was corn pops, which no disrespect is good. I'm more of a Captain Crunch guy. Very good. But no, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about it to be over. I'm excited that we've had some wonderful chat within our chat room. I see some of my favorite human beings on the planet, in the chat room right now. There's a CB out there that's just phenomenal. That's tuned in. That person is just one of the most important people in my life. It's so cool to see the interaction that we have going on, and I love it. I love seeing America in action. That's why I've immigrated to this country. That's why I'm here. That's why I fought for it. That's why I continue to do the show with you. It's because of this. It's because of this moment in time, and I'm excited by it. I'm also excited for us to have guests that aren't political on.
Yes.
So we can do some other stuff. But,
right. And I love it. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to highlight that. And I almost forgot. I wanted to talk about our next week's guest, which is very, very important. We are very. We're going to be blogging about this probably tomorrow. We're going to put up a post, but we've been working this for a really long time. I mentioned this last week. We have a gentleman on next week. You've got to let everyone know. So if you're listening and watching the show, next Thursday, the 15th, we are scheduled to have Mr. Paul Schillo on. And if you say to yourself, who is Paul Schillo? I've never heard of him. Well, by the end of next week, you're going to know him very, very well. Paul, I talked to him on Saturday. It was his 98th birthday. Toby, and he is the last surviving.
You said 98.
98, as in two more, and he's at a triple digit.
Triple digits.
Right.
Oh.
98 years old, lives here in Western New York, lives in the house he was born in. Toby, the gentleman was born the day before Warren G. Harding was elected president. And I had to go back in the Encyclopedia Britannica to look up when was Warren G. Harding elected president. Ironically, it was 98 years ago, but it was you're talking way back early in our country, right? Our country was, just over the halfway mark, over 100 years old. So his mom was part of the suffrage movement. I mean, you're talking about a guy who just without ever doing anything,
the 19th Amendment,
anything in his life, was just a piece of, he's a walking book of history. Very nice gentleman. Talked to him for a while. A good friend of ours, a great author, James Chris, put us in contact with him. But Mr. Paul Shillow, not only is he 98 years old, not even was he born the day before Warren G. Harding was elected president, he is the last surviving member of the Battle of the Bulge, one of the most infamous battles in American wartime history. The last surviving member of the Battle of the Bulge has done a ton of other things. Has just been a has been a served in the military, been all kind of battles, has all kind of experiences, and a really nice guy. And it's going to be a great interview. We're going to have him on next Thursday, the 15th of November, here on Stu and the Nunn. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to get another chance to hear this live anywhere else. He is the last surviving member of the Battle of the Bulge. Where else are you going to listen to a guest talk that's 98 years old, that's over 90 years old, that has seen and done everything this gentleman has done? And like Toby said, we are so glad to kind of be away from political guests. It will be a phenomenal interview. You'll want to be here. Please tell your family and friends and all, whether they like us or like the show or whatever. We do this show because we love bringing these stories. It's not that we like covering politics all the time. It's because we like bringing these stories to you and letting the American people know and worldwide people know about these things. And when are you going to get a chance to talk to someone like this? You're not. And you're not going to get a chance to hear. He's not going out doing interviews with people. It was a blessing that we found him, and it's even more awesome that he lives not far from me. But maybe we'll get him on more than once. But we are going to have him next Thursday, 8:00 here on Stu and the Nunn. And I know Toby and I are both super excited to get this opportunity. And this gentleman, Mr. Shillow, is going to get. We got a number of questions we'll be asking him, but he can go as long and go as slow and whatever he wants. He is expressed his honor and is so glad to be part of the show. And that was super humbling, as you know, Toby, because I told him it was more of an honor for us any day than it was for him to be on our show, for him to give us the time of the day and just talk to us about whatever, and willing to talk about anything we want to ask about. So
I'm super... I know my face doesn't show it, but the honor to talk to someone from this, the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, how much research have we done? How many papers have we written on it? How much thought have we put into it? As soon as you said it, the first thing out of my mouth was nuts. Our tradition is based in this. Our mentality is based in this. And to be able to talk to someone that lived it, it's hard to express, and the honor is just too much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was all over the South Pacific, Fiji Islands. Has done a ton of things, blowing caves, Japanese caves with Bangalore torpedoes. I mean, all kind of stuff. Just the guy is just a wealth of things like that he's been involved in, and for the most part remembers it pretty well. I mean, he's for that age, he'll admit that he is he's kind of forgotten some things here and there, but in my talks with him, he was pretty sharp. And he maybe forgets a name here or two, but that's a lot better than what I can remember. I mean, I can't remember someone we talked to a month ago. But he remembers the incident, and he remembers and he's going to talk about, capturing Japanese battle plans and and all bouncing from island to island and all that kind of stuff. And just as we know from our historical studies, the Japanese were a horrific enemy, and God forbid they captured you. I mean, there was no such thing as any kind of ethics or morals, and what he's seen. So again, next November 15th, next Thursday. We are really excited. I think that'll be we'll take a break after that show because the following week is Thanksgiving, and then what's after Thanksgiving is it Boxer Day? Yeah, right.
Why you disrespect?
Isn't it? I'm not disrespecting.
No, it's Cyber Monday and then Giving Tuesday, which we have some people that you should give to on Giving Tuesday.
Yes.
But Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
Oh, day after Christmas. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I knew it was. I knew it was after a holiday. I can't remember which one. That's right. It's Boxing Day when you go do all your returns. Yeah. Okay. That's it. But anyways, Thanksgiving. But there's also Canadian Thanksgiving, right? That happens.
We already had it.
Oh, you already had it. Okay, you already had it. I knew it was a separate one. But you'll also celebrate American Thanksgiving. But so anyways, next Thursday. Toby, anything else? We've been going for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I guess we should.
No, we're good. We are good.
Yep. All right. So, people are saying Cruz did it. So I wasn't even watching.
It's over?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Someone just said, yeah, Cruz wins victory. Yeah, NBC's calling it. If they're calling it, then it's got to be real. Because who else would? Yeah, looks like DeSantis may take Florida too. Is what it's looking like. But yeah. Oh, it's not looking good. They're calling greater than 95% chance that the Dems are taking the House. I guess they flipped some more seats or all they needed that were in question. But oh well. Okay, everyone, we've had enough. You can watch the results like the rest of us. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for Chad and Jimbo and Joe, Toby and myself. Thank you guys for letting us in your homes tonight and listening to us instead of the talking heads on the TV. You got to listen to the talking heads on your computer. Until next week, next Thursday. No show this Thursday, obviously. Next Thursday. Come join us, Paul Shillo, 8 o'clock here on Stu and the Nunn. It will be a history-making interview. Please, please let everyone know. We are excited to present this to you. And with that, I guess I will bid everyone a good night. How's that sound, Toby?
It sounds awesome, man.
There you go.
Looking forward to next week and excited about it. So
Absolutely.
Tune in.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, PoohHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.